La 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 la. German Masala. Sit back and listen to German Masala. Sit back and listen to German Masala.
Welcome everyone to the German Masala podcast. I'm your host Alex.
And I'm your other host, Herbir.
This is our third podcast episode. Thank you so much for listening to the others, if you have been listening to them. If not, well, take a look at them. This show is the show where Herbir and I take turns in bringing each other topics. But the catch is that the other person doesn't know what we will be talking about or what the topic that person has chosen is. So last week, it was Herbir's turn, and Herbir and I talked about basically our obsession with the United States as a country. And today it will be my turn, and I brought I hope, really interesting topic. At least I'm really interested in it, but for different reasons than you might think, Herbir. So we'll see. We'll see what this is.
I'm a bit scared now.
No, don't be scared. I'll be fine. But before we start, I just wanted to read a private message a friend of mine sent me with regards to our last podcast because I thought it was really nice, and honestly, we appreciate any comments, any feedback. We have an email address which is in the show notes, so let me just read this out real quick. He said, "Love this episode. Great to hear your stories about coming to the US for the first time. Also, quite refreshing to hear you both talk positively about this country. The overall sentiment is almost exclusively negative at the moment, even amongst Americans." Thank you so much. It means a lot, at least to me. I don't know, Herbir, hopefully to you too, if we to get something like this. And I'm happy that we are making a little impact with this podcast.
Yes, definitely. When you told me about this message, I was really happy to hear that as well. I think if we talk about US, it's a great country, right? And there are so many good things happening over there. So I can understand why people sometimes feel, especially the US Americans, that the emotion is very negative right now. But, we can also sometimes target on the positive things that are happening there.
Oh, yeah. I want to say that most things in this world aren't exclusively positive or negative, but some sentiment is maybe overweighing a little bit. And obviously, there are things going on over there in the US which are definitely negative, but hopefully we'll grow together as a entire human species in the future to come.
Exactly.
All right. So with that being said, let's jump into this episode's topic. And we will be talking about India.
Oh, really?
Well, no, okay.
Wow.
So India is well, obviously it's a country, but it's a huge topic. So I will narrow it down a little bit. But how I came to this topic is, last episode you mentioned India and some of India's, like, I thought we talked about some politics, opening up the country to foreign trade, something like this, and I realized I know basically nothing about India. like literally, I know that it's the country which has the most population in this world, which has the highest birth rate, I think, if that's still the case. And that's it. So, but let me narrow it down a little bit. I want to talk specifically about growing up in India, because this is the experience that you had and that I had here in Germany, which maybe we can relate to a little bit, see how things are different, how things are definitely with a focus on how you grew up. So I honestly tell me about how you grew up in India.
Wow. More than happy to talk about it. But just one thing, India is, so right now India is not the country with the highest population. That's China. But the birth rates in India are higher than in China. So I think in few years, maybe 5 or 10, I'm not really sure, India will be crossing China most probably. So the birth rate. Yeah.
I thought I knew at least that, but I didn't even know that. So dang it. But okay, thanks for clarifying this. So definitely highest birth rate then, but not highest population yet. Second highest, I guess then.
Yeah, I think so. So the birth rate is definitely higher than in China. I'm not really sure again if it's the highest, but What I'm sure about is that it's going to cross China's population in, let's say, 5 years,
Okay, let me just look this up to make sure that we're not doing anything
Yes.
stupidly here. Okay, yes, we are. You are right, I should say. China is at least that's what it says from www.census.gov, which is the current population census bureau. So the numbers from July 1st, 2020 said China is at 1.394 billion in population. And India is, wow, look at this, 1.326 billion. So only about 70 million behind.
70 million, yes.
Yeah.
Or 700 million.
No,
700
70
million,
million.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Well, that's not much.
No, not at all. It's like, wow, this is close. And then on number 3 is actually the United States. I didn't know that. And the jump is huge. It's like 1 billion less. It's only 329 million.
Oh, really? I had no idea that number 3 is US already.
Yeah.
I would have thought there are countries like, Brazil or other big countries in between, but no.
Brazil is at number 7.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I had no idea.
Wow, this is crazy. Okay. Anyway, it will be India we're all talking about today. So the number 2 in this world when it comes to population. Tell me about how. Well, maybe let's start with where did you grow up? Was it a big city? Was it a rural country? Like we talked about this a little bit last time, but yeah.
So, I mean, you know that, but just for our listeners, I was born in Tanzania in Africa, so I was not really born in India. But when my family was there, my father was in construction business, and then when I was 6 years old, my family decided to move back to India. When I say India, so I cannot really be talking about India in a sense that it's a one country, one culture. I mean, it is a single country, but if you think about it, there's so much diversity, right? So I usually compare India to Europe. For example, France is not that far away from Germany, right? But they have their own language, they have their own culture, they have their own food. And this is similar to Indian states. So I'm from a state called Punjab. And if you go like 200 kilometers north from Punjab, you will be in Himachal. If you go further, you'll be in Jammu and Kashmir. And all these states have their own food, their own languages, their own culture. So it's really difficult to talk about India in homogeneous terms, right? So what I can talk about is where I'm from and how I grew up, about my own experience. And I hope that is still interesting for you. Should we do that?
Please. I mean, that's interesting. Not say interesting enough, but that is what I wanted to talk about. And actually, the growing, like the being born in Tanzania part, yes, I knew that. But what I guess this is okay to talk about because I don't know how much you remember from being like less than 6 years old. I don't remember that much, to be honest. So I mean, it didn't make a huge. But your parents are both from India, right?
Yeah, they're both from India, both Indians. And as you said, I don't really remember a lot from Tanzania. It's just that the stories I've been told by my parents, by my family, or the pictures I've seen, I remember only those things and maybe a couple of other things. Like I used to sleep in the school and the teachers used to complain about that to my parents. So that is some of the one of the things I remember. And,
that is great.
Also, so we used to live in sort of a jungle. It was not like proper jungle, but it was far from anything else. So there was nothing nearby, no shops, no other houses, etc. So this is something I remember a little bit as well. I don't know if this is memory that has been created in my mind by hearing to the stories that my parents
seeing
told me.
pictures, stuff like that, and then you fill your own story.
We moved to India when I was 6 years and I started going to school over there. I did not know my own language that well because I used to speak Swahili. So in the school, initially, I think it wasn't that easy for me, but I picked up the language quite fast because, I mean, it's my mother tongue and I was still 6, 6 is like very young.
Did your parents talk Swahili to you while you were in Tanzania or did they talk?
No.
What is it? Okay, so they talked. What is the official?
So my mother tongue is Punjabi. Right?
Punjabi, okay.
I'm from a state called Punjab, and that Punjabi is the language spoken over there. No, my parents talked to me in Punjabi. I think, as I was saying, I don't really remember, but I mean, I used to talk to a lot of other people in Swahili in the school. To friends, so that's why that's how I picked the language. I think that's same here as well. A lot of immigrants' children pick up German quite fast, and they would talk to, so they would understand what their parents saying to them in their own language, but they would reply in German, right?
Yes.
So I guess that was the thing happening to me back then, But anyway, so I started schooling in India, and it was, I guess, schooling is, I can compare it to German schooling, right? So I think it is a lot different than the schooling over here. So you start school usually when you're 3 or 4 years old.
3 or 4. Is it then officially preschool, or are you starting in like first grade elementary school?
So they call it lower KG, upper KG, like LKG, a UKG, so which is basically, I think KG comes from kindergarten, maybe. I never really checked, but it's kindergarten is a term used in the US as well, so I think I wouldn't be surprised if that's what they're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
So so that's basically, it's you're not in the first grade when you're doing the lower KG and upper KG, but you are still being taught like alphabets. You are being taught your mathematics.
Wow.
It's children start really fast, like really at an early stage over there, learning these things. Again, I can't really remember much from that era. Then started the school, like the first grade started, and in the first grade you would have your normal subjects, like you would have your mother tongue. Mine was Punjabi, and then we learned Hindi, which is the national language in India a little bit, and from the second grade onwards we started learning English as well. With English it was more like, okay, we were learning English in the school, but no one was talking in English, so it wasn't, everyone could understand a little bit when they grew up, like when they were in, I don't know, 7th, 8th, 10th grade, everyone could understand, but no one could speak that well. The situation has changed now. Now I see little kids in my state in India speaking in English as well, because the schools have changed. They lay a lot of focus on learning, like teaching English, and now over there as well in India. And there are other languages these days as well. People can, like, as a child in a school, you can learn French, you can learn German as well if you're going to one of those so-called really good schools. But back then it was different.
But so do you still speak, what is it, like Hindi, Punjab, Swahili, German, English?
Yeah.
Do you speak all of them, like fluently?
No, I wish I could speak Swahili. I don't speak Swahili anymore. I know a few words, but that's it. I've forgotten it. Maybe I will go to Africa, to Tanzania sometime, and then learn the language again. But anyways, I speak Punjabi, I speak Hindi, I speak English, and then German as well. And there's this language spoken in Pakistan is called Urdu, which is very similar to Hindi. So I can speak and understand that as well. And Urdu is considered to be like French in Europe, right? So poet's language. A lot of poetry has been written, romantic language as well.
Yes.
So that's why it's quite trendy and quite. It's seen as a good thing if you speak Urdu. So I learned that a little bit as well when I was a teenager. Just to impress who.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like you want to like learn to play the guitar or speak French, I guess. I mean, I don't know if that was the reason why I chose French, but it was French or what is the other one that we get to choose here?
Spanish?
No, yeah, I mean later on Spanish, but
Latin?
Yes, Latin. Thank you. And I was like, no, Latin is like, no, I don't want to have Latin. So a lot of people chose Latin because apparently, like, you can only translate it one way or something, and you only have tests in one way, and it would be easier. But I was like, this is not what I would go for. But So in general, just for our American listeners maybe, or even other listeners in Europe, is the school system set up the same way it is in Germany? Because when I went to school here, it was first through fourth grade in elementary school, and then you would choose, or the teachers would give a recommendation, and then you would choose which secondary school you would go to. There was no middle school, and there still is none. And then you could go to either like the Realschule, which is like the middle, like kind of the mid-education tier, where it would only go through grade 10, and after this you would go and do an apprenticeship, become a like construction worker or a bank teller or something like that, right? And then if you wanted to, you can even after that go and do your Abitur, which is like the high school diploma basically in Germany, and then or you would go directly to a so-called gymnasium, which is not where you have sports in the US. I know it's called the gymnasium where you do your sports. No, it's then the secondary school, which would go all the way through grade 12. It was changed while I was in school. It used to be grade 13, and now it was 12. And then after that,
isn't it 13 again?
I'm not sure. I don't think so. I think it's the elementary school changed. I think elementary school is now through grade 6 or something. But yeah. So this is the general system. How is it in India?
Yeah. Just about the 13 or 12 years, I heard someone from Lower Saxony that they have 13 years again over there. Maybe the system is different in Hamburg, but I'm not really sure. Anyways, I think this is quite a unique system in Germany. It's from the other countries that I know about, because, I have family in the UK. I have some people living in the US as well that I know. So over there, the system is not like this. In India, it wasn't like this either. So we started the school, and I could have stayed in the same school until I did my 10+2, which is 12th grade. And so you do up to the 10th grade, and the 10th grade is something, the tests you do over there are not taken in your school. They are taken in your school, but those are on state level. So you'll be competing against like whole of the state. And then after that, you decide, okay, I want to go into sciences, I want to do medical, I want to do engineering like later, or I want to do arts, I want to become an economist. Then you would choose your subjects for the next 2 years accordingly. So I took, I wanted to go into engineering, so I took physics, chemistry, and maths. And if people want to do like medicine, they would take physics, chemistry, and biology. There will be no math at all for them, which is my wife was quite surprised about this. So she started a degree here again in Germany. She's a biotechnologist. She has 2 masters, one from India, one from England. And she started another master's here because she wanted to learn more about the German market before she started a job, a career over here in this country. And also there were some, other reasons as well. But so she started her degree, and she saw that it's a lot different than what it used to be in England or in India, because there's like a lot of mathematics, there's lots of programming as well in her course. So, just talking about the differences. Coming back to the school, I think this system of deciding after the 4th grade which school are you going to? Is it going to be Gymnasium? Is it going to be Realschule? Is it going to be Hauptschule? I'm just throwing some German terms around right now, but I think this is unique to Germany, and as I understand, it's also changing a bit now, right?
Yes, it is. I think, I'm not sure. I would have to actually look it up. I think it's now 6 years in in elementary school basically, and then choosing after, which I don't know if it's good or bad. I was fine with the system back then, but maybe it's a little bit early after grade 4 to decide like your entire, but because it's a life decision, right? Yeah. And and it might be the wrong decision. I know people who went to my school, like to my gymnasium, which weren't good there. It wasn't made for them. And the reason is the gymnasium is meant to be your education path for university, for, doing a university degree, which I ended up doing after that. But a lot of people actually would have been better off, or some at least would have been better off in the Realschule, because that one is also more focused on hands-on experience, right? At least that's what I heard. I never went to one, so I can't really speak in that name, but I heard it's more focused about prepping you for the job world without the university. And I want to say that I think this is unique for Germany because, or in Europe in general, because it is not bad. It is actually really good if you end up with a Realschulabschluss. By the way, we also had this test at grade 10, which is a more centralized test, because it's the same thing. Like you would get this either way. Even if you're on a gymnasium, you would get this kind of test, and then you just go on after that. But it's not bad if you don't complete your Abitur, which is the German high school diploma. You can do the other one, and you're fit to work in so many jobs which are so essential to our economy, to our everyday lives, but you then go on and learn these jobs in an apprenticeship again for 2 years, maybe 1.5 years, maybe 3 years. And one of my really good friends, actually, he, after completing his high school diploma with me, decided it's not the best for him to go straight to university, but to actually get some real world experience. So he did it like a Banklehre, I think it's Banklehre, Bankkaufmann, so a banker basically. And he learned in a bank here in Hamburg everything or a lot about this actual job. And then after this, and obviously you already earn some money when you do this. And then after this, he decided to go in and do another degree, right? To do his bachelor's, master's, and I think now he's doing his PhD, his doctor's. But yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a great system. I just have like one little complaint with it. I mean, think about like you come from a family where no one has gone to a university, right? And you have sometimes your parents might not have good jobs, or they might not be working at all. They might be getting social help because of some circumstances. Things can happen always. And then you live in that part of the city as well, which can sometimes be called a ghetto or something, where people don't usually have a lot of money, not a lot of opportunities, you live in that area. And now you're growing up there, you are going to a school over there as well. And all the people that you are surrounded by come from the similar families as well. Now think about it. You don't get too much motivation in your family to do well in a school, right? And you are suddenly in 4th grade, which is, you're very young when you're in 4th grade. You are like 9 or 10 years old. You don't really know much. You can't really decide things on your own, So a lot of the motivation you have comes from either from family or your friends, your circle, basically, right? And now, because you were not really good in school, the reason was you didn't really have a lot of motivation. It doesn't mean that you are not a smart person. It can just mean you were not motivated, right? So you were not good in school. And now suddenly you are going to Hauptschule because your parents don't care, right? Or your teachers don't care. Yeah. You go to that school, and then again, you don't really have society over there which is sort of motivating, encouraging you to do well, to study more, right? And suddenly you are like 16 and finish with Hauptschule, and you don't have many options to do anything. I know you can still, when you do the Realschule, you can still go to the university. There are ways to do that, but I think the motivation part, that plays so much of a role. I think when a kid is 14 or 15, the kid can still decide on its own if they want to do something better or worse, whatever with their life, if they want to become someone, if they want to have job in academics, if they want to do some kind of research, if they want to go to space, as we were talking about, if they want to become a mathematician, or they can also say, I want to become a painter. But I think at least kids should have a chance up until then to say, okay, this is something I want to do.
This is turning into a school podcast now, like education podcast. I think this is a topic we should spend a separate episode on, because I think it's super interesting to talk about this. But yeah, I mean, I agree. Is it different in India? Like, how is it there?
No, it's not much different in India, to be honest. So in India, there are schools financed by state, which are basically I mean, they are called government schools. They are not considered to be very good. So you can still get education over there. There are some people still making something out of their lives, but the number of people who would actually, you know, get really, really good jobs. I'm just talking about pure numbers. I'm not talking about that these students might not be as capable as the students going to private schools, which are considered to be better schools. But just if you look at the sheer number, I think the numbers are really, really low. And the reason is just the state schools, you pay like very little money. You pay, I don't know, like maybe €5 per month or even €1 per month.
Is this for like the regular schools or like university degrees?
This is the regular school.
Okay.
When you are a child, right? So these are government schools. All children can go there. They won't be denied education. They don't have to. So
okay, so this is interesting. So this is something where who makes the decision? The parents?
Yeah, the parents make the decision, but it's always so they don't. The thing is, as soon as parents have a little bit of money, right? Even if they don't have much money, to be honest, parents prefer to send their children to the private schools. Indian people usually, like the middle class Indian people, usually consider education to be very, very important. So they will invest all the money they have in their children's education, in their children's career, because that's one of the ways, I think, maybe may even be like the only way to get out of, poverty, to make some money, so they will invest everything they have in their children's education. So they would prefer their children to be sent to private schools. Private schools are also, there are lots of different private schools. Some are considered like on medium level. Some are really, really great schools. Like the schools I was talking about where you're taught French and German. Those are like, I heard from I was talking to my mum, and our neighbor's child is now going to school where they're paying like, I think, €2,000 per year and this didn't used to be normal. And you have to think that for some people, like for the majority, this will be like half a year's income over there, but they will still be willing to pay this because they want their child to become something, right? To be successful, to have a career.
But that sounds really great. Like this sounds like a cultural thing, that because in Germany, I don't want to speak for anyone too negatively here, but I know of people, let's put it this way, what you talked about, like whose parents maybe are out of a job and they living on social welfare, which is okay. This is a thing that can happen. But they have been maybe doing this for their entire lives, and the children don't know any better. And some of these parents might still be really interested in saying, hey, kid, make something out of yourself, go to school, do your homework, make a better life for yourselves than we did. But I know some that are not really interested in what their kid is doing. Like, they don't care. They're just like, oh, he's home or she's home, which I think is sad. But this sounds like it's a more cultural shift in India. Did you go to a private school then?
Yeah, I did go to a private school. Just let me come back to that point, Alex. So there are two things. In India, a lot of parents or the society sees the children as, as I was talking about, as a way of coming out of poverty. So if I, as a child, make something of myself, if I become something, I'm definitely going to support my family, right? So I'm not going to leave them alone later in the life. So that is one of the factors why parents are also so much interested, so much vested in their child's future. And then the second thing is, even in India, like now I was just talking about the middle class. There are a lot of people who are not middle class, who are who make money, which is like, there's a poverty line in India, an official one, I don't know where it is. But there are a lot of people living under that. And those people do not really have the option to say, okay, we will send our children to best schools or even to schools. Sometimes they say, okay, it's another, it's another person who could start making money already. That's why you have so much of child labor as well in countries like. But this is not just Indian story. I think this is like most of the developing countries right now. Which sadly, unfortunately, hopefully things will change. Yeah, what was your question? If I went to private school,
yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I did go to private school, but it was not like one of the very good ones. It was like the medium one, and I mean, it was quite okay. I think I got really good education. I was very lucky. The teachers I had when I started my education in India after coming from Africa, they were really, really good. They taught me, first of all, my mother tongue quite well. And then after that, I don't know why. I think my teachers used to love me, which kept me motivated all the time, which helped me learn things. And, just funny stories. So, as I said, teachers used to love me. And in India, you get so much of homework that it's often the case that you're overwhelmed and you don't do all the homework, right? And this happened to me quite often. I didn't used to do my homework. But then I used to tell teachers, oh, I forgot my notebook at home. And everyone believed me. Everyone.
And you took advantage of that.
Well, I was a child, but I did take advantage of that. I still sometimes remember, I was like, how come they always believed me?
Because you're a good guy otherwise, right? You're like a nice, and usually you say at least in my opinion, we've known each other for a couple of years now, at least in my opinion, you seem like a trustworthy person. Like, I wouldn't inherently doubt every single thing you say.
Thank you, Alex. But I was a kid, and so back then, things have changed now. Back then, teachers it was also quite usual that teachers would beat children, with sticks and stuff. I mean, it wasn't, I know, I'm seeing your eyes right now, Alex, in the video. So I know this is like something unheard of in modern Germany, in the 1950s, 40s. This might have happened in Germany as well.
Yes, definitely. Like we went, when I was in school, I remember we went to like a historic school where they had like a school hour for us in the like old German style. And obviously they didn't hit us because now it's not allowed to hit children anymore, but it was definitely a thing. But I mean, this doesn't seem that far ago that it was still allowed in India, or was still a practice, even if it wasn't allowed.
Yeah. Nah, I'm not really sure what the official stance on hitting children was, but it was practiced quite often, let's say it like that. But the thing is, again, I never got a beating from any teacher.
Did you see kids getting a beating though?
Yeah, unfortunately, yes.
Was it something that happened regularly, or was it something that's like once a week or once a month?
It happened quite regularly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but that was considered to be normal practice, to be honest. There was nothing like people wouldn't bat an eye seeing that. This is, again, cultural differences. So Trevor Noah has this amazing piece where he talks about how Oprah opened a school in South Africa, and then Oprah asked, "Are you going to spank the children?" And the teacher said, no, don't worry, we don't spank the children, right? And then Oprah leaves and they say, we don't spank, we beat them. We hit them.
Oh God, that's terrible. But see, I think this is not, yes, it's a cultural difference, but I think it's one of these differences that shouldn't be a difference. I think nowhere in this world should children be physically harmed, or psychologically harmed for that matter, for anything they do, especially children. I think nobody should, but especially children, because it could have such a big impact on their development as a child. And I am lucky that I've never experienced something like this. I just want to ask one more follow-up question. I know this is a terrible topic, but what kind of beating was it? Because I learned that in German schools, like you would have the teacher would have a big stick or a ruler, and they would hit your fingers or something like this.
Yeah, usually it was a stick or a ruler, but sometimes it was also like a slap, which is like, I think, even more terrifying to be honest, especially psychologically, if you think about that.
Yeah, I mean, those children, when does this start? Like, is it like in the first grade? Like,
so, Alex, it just to be very clear, I don't think it happens anymore.
Okay.
Schools have changed a lot. You know?
Okay, sorry. Yeah, maybe we should move on for this topic.
I mean, I'm in my 30s and early, and so but back then when I was in the school, it was different than it is now. I think it still happens in maybe in those government schools that we were talking about. You know. Some other schools as well, but I think it's changing now, and I agree with you. This is, I think as well that this is like a torture for a child, not just a physical one, emotional one as well. So, yeah, if anyone is listening from me who does this, please stop doing that. You might not think much of it, but you know, like you're doing any kind of harm to the child, but this is really harmful for the children.
I would say so too. Well, but let's move away from the beating child in school topic. So you moved to India, obviously, with your parents, and then you started school when you were 6 there, or because you were 6, you started going to school there. Did you attend the same school all the way to grade 10+2, so grade 12?
No. So I changed like a couple of schools because my school was quite, like the initial one was quite far away from my home. And my parents at certain points thought it will be better if I went to a school somewhere near to my home. So that was the reason I changed. And then I didn't like that one that much. And then I changed again. So I changed a couple, yeah. It wasn't because, you know, the schools were better or worse. It was just because it was more convenient.
And these schools were all schools where you would stay your entire school life, right? It would be grade 1 through 12, basically.
Exactly. That's how almost all the schools are in India.
Doesn't matter if they're public or private.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Wow.
So sometimes if you're in a remote village somewhere, it might be the case like after 10th grade, you have to go somewhere else because the facilities aren't there. So if you want to do like, you know, engineering subjects later, you want to take physics, chemistry. Of course, you need laboratories for that. You know, you need to, for chemistry, you need to go and play with acids and stuff. And in certain schools, you can't do that. So you will have to go somewhere else. But usually the schools are first grade to actually lower KG through 12th grade. Yeah.
Interesting. That is interesting. By the way, I also took physics in in the higher education path. You get to choose which topics you want to put an emphasis on, and yes, it was physics, which I thought was interesting at the time. Maybe not the best choice looking back, but still.
No, but you're quite good at it. We have talked about physics a few times, and I always thought that you are quite good at it.
Thank you.
Quite well. Yeah.
but the thing is that at least for me, I like physics, which is the experimental physics part, right?
Yeah.
Which is the actual doing something, recording results, building something, stuff like that. And with physics in especially the higher education path, but like the higher grades, when you choose this as one of your deepening topics, basically, right? Something that you want to focus on. It becomes way more of calculate the internal resistance of this circuit. How will you build an inverter? What's quantum physics? Experiments like that, which the experiment part was awesome. I love those. Yeah. The theory was something where I was actually not good at. I was really good in math. I'm not gonna lie. Mathematics. That was. I'm calling math this now, but in the US, for example, it's pre-cal, calculus, geometry. We just call it math, basically, right? We have different topics in there. But yeah, no, I love that. But for some reason, physics was not my best topic ever. I was a subject I was subscribing. But going away from that, that was the school life part, at least up to grade 12. How did you get to school? Let's transition a little bit more into also the private and social life in India, because I think that's super interesting. I rode my bike a lot of my life, and then later on I took the bus a little bit, and then when the weather was bad, I sometimes took the bus. Sometimes my parents drove me. They didn't really like it, and I wasn't supposed to be asking them for this, but they would. And then in the end, I just had a funnily enough, electric scooter, which would take me there. Or like at the really, really end, just the last half year, basically, I was able to drive, so I had a car.
Oh, nice. No, I did not have a car. So initially when, I was a little child and my school was quite far away, which is, that is the case for like a lot of children in Punjab, where I come from. The schools are not usually near to your houses because parents want to send their children to the best schools they think, are the best. So these can be far away as well. But there are always like school buses that you can pay for. They used to, like, I don't know, back then they used to cost like 150 rupees, which is like €2 per month, Now
Per month?
Yeah, per month. But
Wow.
now they might be a lot more, Now they might be like €10 per month or something. Back then it was really cheap. And that I took the bus, but there are a lot of children who go in a rickshaw. It's kind of a rickshaw. It's like, you know what rickshaw is, right?
Yes,
Like
definitely.
the bicycle thing.
I've seen the movies, like the tricycle, basically, like 2 in the back, 1 in the front, right? And then people like pedaling with like human powered. No, actually, some of them
Exactly.
are, but some of them are motorized too, right?
Yeah, well, back then they didn't used to be, at least in India, they didn't used to be motorized. They were the rickshaws. They were like you had to pedal, and then they were modified to make. So they used to make sort of a tube out of it, like the person, like where the pedals were, that was just like a bicycle part, the first part, right? And then behind it, there used to be sort of a tube where they will stick like 10 or 12 little kids in it. And then the person would cycle. And then, yeah, that was quite funny. I
Wow.
I took it sometimes and I enjoyed it, to be honest. And then it'll get stuck somewhere, and the rickshaw driver would ask children to push, and you will get out. You will get out of the rickshaw and push it. It was awesome, man. It was
It's
really
like
cool.
an adventure path to school.
Yeah, exactly. It was so
Crazy.
cool. And think about it. You do this in 40 degrees heat, right?
Oh gosh, 40 degrees Celsius, right? So this is like
Yeah.
100 plus Fahrenheit. Wow.
Yeah, I don't know how much in Fahrenheit.
I think it's like
was.
110. Wait, we have to look this up. Numbers are always something I have to look up. So 40 C and F. Let's look. 104 Fahrenheit. Yep. So 100 plus degrees. This is
By the way,
Yeah.
let me just say this. My so Google Home that I have at home, those smart speakers.
Yes.
Whenever I ask for weather, it'll tell me the weather in centigrade. But when my wife asks, it'll tell the Fahrenheit. I think it thinks my wife is American. I will have to ask her to change her accent to Indian one.
But actually, you know that at least for the Google Homes, you can ask them and then say, "Tell me in Celsius," just after you, and then it will tell us. Interesting
Interesting.
technology, right? So
Exactly.
a little bit more about like your housing situation. Like, where did you live? Like, I lived in a, I would say regular house. It was maybe some people would consider it big house. It was a house at all, which is nice. No apartment. We had a huge, like define huge, but it was a pretty good sized front yard. And then it was also a small backyard, which I was, as a kid, I could camp in. We had campfires there, birthday parties. We would have families over, barbecue together. It was awesome. Like, I enjoyed my childhood for the most part that way a lot. And but like some part of it is where you live. So how did you live, or how was your living situation?
So again, I will come back to the differences between Germany and India. Punjab, I won't say India again, I think, because India is again very diverse. But so the difference over there is that people like to own properties. And in the smaller cities, almost all of these properties are houses, not apartments. Apartments are, I think, a relatively new concept now, which is starting to, sort of, you will see now a lot more apartments in smaller cities in India as well, like there used to be 20 years ago. There used to be like almost no apartments. Everything used to be houses.
Is that why a lot of the cities in India are so big size-wise? Because there are no huge towers with a bunch of apartments in, or?
Well, no. So I come from a smaller city. It's called Jalandhar. In the state is called Punjab, and the city is called Jalandhar. It's if you think about it, it's quite small, you know. But when you go to cities like Delhi or Mumbai, you know, the big cities, the metropolitans, you will see huge buildings over there
Okay.
because
I guess
they have to
company
make buildings, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you won't fit all the people in the city. I don't know. So Mumbai is around, I think, 20 million. I don't want to say anything wrong, but it's a lot of people.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. So, I mean, people like to own houses in India. Again, houses because they want to leave the houses to their children when they're gone, you know, again, thinking about their children. And also, it's sort of an investment for them, you know. The best thing you can do is to buy a house. That's how most of the middle class Indians, at least the ones I know, think, you know, or I've read about, you know. That's how they think. And we had, when we came back from India, although we had
From
a house
Africa.
from Africa,
Yeah.
yes. We had a house in our ancestral village as well, but my father decided to buy like in a city, buy a house in a city, actually build a house. Most of the people build houses over there. So
Wow.
yeah, my mom's father, my grandfather, actually started building the house already when we were in Africa for us over there in India. So, you know, then we moved to that house. It wasn't finished. There were like, I think, a couple of rooms and then a corridor, like bathroom. That was it. And then slowly we moved in and slowly we kept building it more. It was like an okay house. I love that. So a house is, you know, it's not just a building, right? It's also the people living in it, people living around it. So the thing about city where I come from or the area where I come from, people are really, really friendly. Even now, my parents are there. Like my mom and dad, they are both in their 70s, and you know, but we are not really worried about them at any point. Of course, their health is quite good, luckily, and but even thinking about, okay, they are older people, and now these days, you know, with Corona, they might need help. You know, I think sometimes, oh, I should have been there. Sometimes I tell myself, but then, you know, the good thing is our neighbors are like family to us. You know, they keep coming to my parents. They keep asking if they need anything. They will be always there if any kind of help is needed. So I think that counts a lot as well.
Is this a common thing in India, just cultural wise, that you live, even though
Yeah.
you might not know each other personally, like you will, like your neighbors are getting part of your like extended family, maybe even?
Oh, you know them personally. You know them very well. You know them. They are like family. You know, and it's a very common thing. So that's why when an Indian person get married, it's not uncommon that there are like 1,000 people there.
Because it's like
You
the
know?
neighbors and then the friends of them. And like,
Everyone. Yeah, you have even relatives of neighbors coming to your wedding because when they came and visited your neighbors, they visited you as well, and you became quite close to them as well. So yeah, that's in smaller cities, that's a very common thing.
that is crazy. I mean, I lived in Berlin for a couple of years, and I was in an apartment building, to be fair. I knew one person. Like I knew one people like that I would actually know. And the house had like this house had like at least, or had like 10 people living, or 10 families or whatever. It was mostly older people but living in there. And then the entire apartment complex had like, I don't know, like a couple hundred. So I guess in India, like people would know each other a lot more in these, even if it's an apartment complex.
Definitely. Yeah.
It's crazy. So the house itself, just because I'm coming from an architecture background a little bit, family wise, is it like the U.S. houses, which are mostly built out of wood frames constructions, or is it more like the German houses, which are often built with concrete and just stones being piled, like literally stone on stone?
So bricks and concrete.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Or, I
The
mean,
difference
good,
to yeah.
Doesn't matter. It's not bad if you build a house out of wood. Sorry, that shouldn't sound like that. But okay, so bricks and concrete.
Yeah, and the difference with German houses are the roofs, I think. So, You have the slant roofs in Germany usually because of the snow, and because of the heat thing. Our slant roofs are more efficient over here. And India, all the houses have like flat roofs.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, I see this from like even in the Mediterranean. I went to the island of Lanzarote last year, or not even last year, or I did go there last year, but also a bunch of times before that. And most houses there are basically like a square, not a square, like a rectangle. They're pretty flat on the top.
Yeah, I think it has to do something with snow as well, right? My architectural knowledge is zero. So
well, I mean, snow is a part of this, and you maybe heard that a couple of years back, maybe even a decade or so back, a roof in Germany, like of a stadium, collapsed because there was a lot of snow on there, and they couldn't clear it off, so that was terrible. Yes, but I want to say it's also maybe because I don't know if it's easier to build necessarily. Honestly, I'm not sure why the roofs are pretty flat over there. Maybe it has to do something with heat. Because if you have an angled, like a slanted roof, an angled roof, it will always have, obviously, like it will have more surface area in general. And it's probably harder to paint this in a white color. I don't know, are the houses mostly light colors in India?
Yeah, so very colorful. All the people decide on their own what they want to have their house colored as. So there's no, for example, in Germany, usually, I think there are some rules about it as well, what color you can paint your house.
It depends.
Right?
It depends.
Yeah.
Not everywhere, and not always, but some streets, to preserve the natural look, will have restrictions based on building height and also building front. So some streets may say only brick fronts, and other streets may say you can paint it, but it has to be a color in the spectrum of, I don't know, yellowish. So you can't just, like, if the entire street is yellow, some streets may not allow you to put like a black house in there or something like that.
Got it. There's no such thing in India. You basically paint your house as you want it to, and there are lots of colors,
But will they keep it usually like light so it's not getting too hot in the summer?
Yeah, thinking about it now, yeah, most of the houses are light. Yeah, that is true.
Interesting. Okay, so what? And now the part which I also really like is the social life. Like, what was it like? Friends, family. I already heard that family is a huge part of this. Yeah. But maybe also when you grew up, I think friendships and playing with people and like just like play dates, stuff like this is super important. So how did that work in India, or what did you do?
So playing together is a big part of childhood, or was a big part of childhood for me. So I used to love cricket. I think the whole India loves cricket. People are crazy about about that sport.
So you play cricket?
Yeah, I played a lot of cricket.
Wait, is it the one? So sorry, I'm pretty sure it is. But is cricket the one? Because when we play cricket, it's the where you put little like goals out of metal posts in your.
That's croquet, I think.
Oh, that's croquet. Oh, shoot. Okay, so yep. Okay, sorry, that's totally croquet. Cricket is the one with the bat, right?
The one with the bat.
Yes.
The one that is similar to baseball.
Okay.
Although I think it's a bit more challenging than baseball, to be honest, without hurting anyone's feeling right now. So every day after coming back from school, if it was summer, then around 6 p.m. we will start playing. If it was winter, then around 4 p.m. we will start playing, like for 2-3 hours. And it was, we would play anywhere. If there's like, so our area was being developed and there were not houses everywhere, so there were these free spaces between houses, and then we would play cricket over there. I think we smashed a lot of glasses as well.
Did you ever smash in a window?
Yeah, and I just ran away. We all ran away. We left our bats and wickets and all the equipment there, and we ran away.
Really?
Yeah, I still feel bad about that.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, that you said, but the reason was there was like the one and only proper cricket ground in Jalandhar, in the city I come from, was like 10 kilometers away from my home. So I wasn't going to go there and play. And even if I went there will be like already 1,000 kids playing over there. And, we will never get a chance to play. So we will play anyway. We used to play on the streets. I think children still do that. If you ever go to India, Alex, I think that's one of the first things you will see, children playing cricket.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's different to Germany, because in Germany you usually go to like clubs. If you want to play football, you will usually play for a club, and then even if you're a child, and then
you'll be part of a team.
Yeah.
You'll be taught. But that being said, still a lot of kids. There's a lot of like public playgrounds with just a couple of goals on there where you can just play soccer. Obviously, I have never even. I don't know if I've ever even seen an entire game of cricket, regardless of playing. Like, I've never played cricket in my entire life. Definitely never did that.
I'm sure you haven't seen that.
Is it fun?
So, yeah, it is a lot of fun. If you understand the game, if you like it, it's really a lot of fun. But there are 3 different versions of the game you can play. So one version is, it lasts like 4.5 hours.
Oh, gosh.
Then there's another version that lasts one whole day.
Oh!
And then there's one other version that lasts 5 days.
Okay, so even if you want to play, like the minimum is like 4.5 hours.
So no, when you play, you can, if it's not an official game, you can always like shorten it to 1 hour, 2 hour, whatever you want to. It's about the amount of balls you play, right? So it's like baseball. One person is throwing the ball, the other one has to hit it, right? And it's usually about the amount of balls that are being bowled. Right?
Interesting.
In a match. I'm pretty sure you haven't seen the whole game. It's especially if you are not really a fan, I think it can be quite boring.
Do you watch cricket?
I used to watch a lot when I was a student, even when I was here in Germany. But now, I don't have that much time. Now I'm a little bit out of touch. But still, I watch on YouTube some highlights of the matches, and YouTube algorithm knows I love cricket, so it'll keep showing me all the important matches.
Wow, that is so cool. All right, and then what about like vacations? Did you go on vacations? Did your family take you on vacations? Is this a thing that's common in India, or?
It's getting more and more common. But back then, for us, vacation was going to our relatives, going to like my mom's family was vacation for me. Going to our ancestral village was vacation to me. Going to some religious places was vacation to me. And that was the case for almost all the children, all the families.
Okay, but when you talk about going to some religious places or even ancestors, or grandparents, whatever, how far away would they usually be? Because I would consider a vacation not necessarily what you visit, but also how far it is. Like, is it something where it's like, oh, you can just go there every day because it's 5 minutes around the block? Or is it something where you actually, like, you would pack did you have a car? Where did you pack your car and drive there or something?
So, I came to Germany when I was 21.
Yes.
21, yes. But I did not have a car. I had a bike, a really good one.
In
one
India.
of the best ones in India. Yeah. It's called Royal Enfield. It's a really good bike. If anyone, I think bike fans would know that. Anyway, so initially, my father didn't used to have a car. He had a scooter sort of thing, like the Vespas you have over there as well, which was quite normal. Like everyone had that.
Okay.
And very few people actually had cars in up until 90s. That was the case, I think. And then economy started changing, people starting buying cars, etc. So our village where my father is from was like 45 to 50 kilometers away from our home, which means like 2 hours in India.
What? 2 hours?
Yeah, so the roads aren't as good as here in Germany. The traffic is it's not as organized as in Germany.
Even in a smaller city, like where you lived, you said it's a smaller city, right? Was it still crazy traffic?
Yeah. Yeah, the traffic traffic is quite crazy.
Okay,
I
but
mean,
how did you get there if you only had a scooter, like the 50 kilometers?
so you could take buses and
Oh,
stuff,
okay.
but you can. I used to ride scooter with my father as well, which was a normal thing to do.
For this
The
long.
scooters, yeah, yeah. So no, to village. When we went to the village, we would either rent a car, go by
Okay.
bus, or this
I was
kind.
about
But
to say.
yeah, but my mom's parents, like my mom's family, lived in the same city, which was but also like 6-7 kilometers from us. We used to go there a lot as well. Spend a lot of time with the cousins. Yeah, it was very nice, Alex. I'm missing it now. Talking to you about it.
But you never like I mean I guess you did you were born in Africa, so you did see
Yeah.
some other places, but after you moved back to India, was there ever a time when you went outside of the country?
Mm, no, the first time I went outside of the country, I came to Germany.
Wow. That is
Yeah.
crazy. And is this I guess you already said this, but this is common for a lot of Indian families then and
Yeah.
kids, right?
That's very very common, Alex. Um, my One of my aunts, like my mum's brother's wife, she had never seen an escalator up until 5 years ago, I think,
Wow.
and she had never taken a flight up until 1 year ago. So it was a very strange thing for her to do. Although, I mean, escalators were quite common already 20 years back in my city, but you would not go to the, usually you won't go to the malls and stuff in India. And that's where the most of the escalators, etc. are.
So
Yeah.
interesting. But because, well, I guess it comes down to size again. Like I know, like adult people in their, I don't want to say something wrong in case that person knows who I'm talking about and listening to this, but I want to say in their 50s,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think in their 50s, who have never been outside the US. Never.
Yeah.
Like maybe Mexico, maybe like Mexico once, but never like actually left the US. But that's also because, and I'm going to defend them a little bit here, I guess, because the US is big. Not as,
Yeah.
well, maybe, I don't know if it's as big as, I think it's as big as India. But anyway, like it's big. It has a lot of things to offer. It has the beaches. It has the forest. It has national, the national parks. It has like ski resorts, huge mountains. And in Germany, it's easy to go somewhere else. So as a kid,
Yeah.
we would spend a lot of the time not outside of Germany, but on the coast, which is like, was usually around 150 or 300 kilometers away. Or we would go to something in the center of Germany where there was like a nice children's hotel, where you could have a lot of child activities and just enjoy the, like, it wasn't mountains, I wouldn't call them mountains, but hilly areas of like middle Germany. So this was a common thing. And then when I grew a little older, I was also taken by my aunt and uncle on like a trip, on a cruise actually, for like a bigger present that they would give all of us children, my family, which really grateful. So I saw a bunch of different cities around the Mediterranean area, and then
Nice.
you would start to travel more when I was 8. Was this when I was 18? I think when I was 18, my friends from America came and visit, and we did a road trip. Like we just took the car and drove from Hamburg to the Netherlands to like Paris, Switzerland, down to Italy, Austria. So we just traveled, and
Yeah.
it wasn't that uncommon to do something like this. Maybe not as super common because not everyone has a car when they're 18, and I was lucky enough to or fortunate enough to be given that, but that opportunity to do those trips. But yeah, so it's interesting that in India, it's not as common.
It is getting more and more common now. I have to say, if I think about my cousins now, like one of my cousin both her and her. She's a professor, I think, assistant professor at a university. Her husband works for a private company. Both of them have good jobs. Both of them take vacations, take their children to like mountains and take the, so, and the children have, I think, gone to foreign countries as well, and they themselves travel a lot. They were here in Europe, were in Canada as well. So I think things are changing now. Like my generation, or the generation that is like a bit older than me, are they actually enjoy those things. So if you think about it, it's like it's just a little bit behind Europe, India. And I also come from one of the richest states in India. Punjab is like, I think it always used to be a rich state with a lot of money. So I think we are getting there. We are getting to a point where we are starting to do all those things that are considered to be, fun and normal in the Western society. Yeah.
Wow. Harbir, I think this is a great point to end this week's, or this episode. I shouldn't say this week. Thank you so much for giving me so many insights into India. It was super interesting, and I am honestly interested to see what comes from India in the future, and maybe we'll pick up on this topic again and talk about how your life progressed after leaving India, because obviously that was a really interesting time as well. But before we completely close it out here, maybe for some people, obviously right now there's a global pandemic going on. I would advise anyone to limit their personal travels and contacts to the much of their possibilities. However, if this whole thing pans out and hopefully at some point traveling is becoming more of the norm again, where would you say should people go to India?
It's a difficult question. Depends on what you want to see. So if you are interested in history, if you want to see like the old forts and stuff, I would say go to Rajasthan, which is sort of in the middle, how would I say it, northwestern part of the country. I think it's also a desert. So quite nice. You can have like a really nice time over there. But if you are interested in, let's say, going to beaches and stuff, go to Goa. There's a lot of party going on over there all the time. Kerala is very beautiful. Kerala is a state in like extreme south of India. Food is tasty. My state, Punjab, it's in northern part of the country. There's not much to see there in that sense, but people are really warm, really nice. Also, I think people love having guests over people. So I'm pretty sure if you go there, Alex, they see you, okay, there's a person who does not look like us. They will invite you for a tea, for food, just like that, very friendly people. There's so many things to do in India. It really depends on what you want to see, what you want to do.
I think I would definitely go for the Punjab thing. I think this is what I also travel for. It's seeing things. It's all of that and going to the beach. But honestly, I probably wouldn't go to India to go to the beach. What you just told me, the warm-heartedness of people, I think that's what I would go there for and try to, I don't know, just experience life a little bit and see kids playing cricket in the streets, having tea with random strangers. Please do that. I'm pretty sure you will enjoy it. And let me know if you want any other tips, etc. We can maybe combine our trips as well. We can go together. Let's see. At some point,
I want to travel India as well, like properly. I haven't traveled India properly, but you need like so much time. You need 2 to 3 months to do a proper trip in India.
Well, maybe we'll do like a sabbatical at some point. Take, a couple of months off work and then just travel India together. Do a little travel blog.
Yes. Make a podcast everywhere we go.
Yes, exactly.
Alex, thank you so much for bringing up this topic. I don't know where the time flew by, like the last hour we have been talking, and it was really fun. Yeah, happy to talk about this again anytime.
Awesome. Thanks so much to everyone to listening to this week's episode. We will be back in 2 weeks with a topic which I don't know anything about yet because it will be Harbir's choice of topic. We're available everywhere, and now seriously pretty much everywhere. If you want to listen to us at some service which we're not available at yet, then please just email us at germanmasala@alex, which is ALEXS universe.de. And we're, as I said, on YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, which if you own a Tesla vehicle is also in your Teslas, and then also on stuff like Podbean or the Antenna Cast podcast app. So a lot of podcast apps out there. German Masala is a podcast hosted by Harbir and me, Alex. Alex's Universe is the umbrella brand that this podcast is being produced under. It's currently just a YouTube channel called Alex's Universe, which is hosted by me talking about electric cars, and then this podcast from Harbir and me.